Okay, good afternoon. Firstly, my name's Ruben Krippner, Director of Product Management on the OneDrive team. Secondly, I need a change of underwear because the Wi-Fi dropped on the demo machine about 45 seconds ago. So it was going to be a very quick session considering most of my session is demo related. So anyway, welcome to the session. The objective today, a number of things. One, we want to go through kind of a primer and a background around OneDrive for Business and what our intentions are with the product, where we're heading. Can I just get a quick show of hands? How many folks are actually using OneDrive for Business today? Keep your hands up if you enjoy the sync experience. I am shocked. Whoever liked the sync experience, I got a t-shirt for you right here. Okay, now that we got that awkward moment out of the way, let's get on with it. So then we'll take you through kind of a primer, some background around the capabilities of the solution, what you can do with the web client, the sync client, those sorts of things. We'll then go into some of the Office 365 integration and how it fits into email experiences and other things. We'll focus on some of the mobility options around what we've delivered recently on iOS, Android, Windows Phone. We'll go into security, control, and compliance. So we're really going to cover not only all the end-user stuff, but as well the investments that we've made in the IT, audience and administration, control, compliance. And then we'll get into the vision and roadmap and where we're really heading with the product, what our vision for the overall service is, and some of the things that we'll be bringing in literally within the next couple of weeks through the next sort of 9 to 12 months. Then we'll close with some closing thoughts, some suggested recommended sessions that you go to around OneDrive. If we get to Q&A, the first 4 people who jump up of varying sizes, jump up to the microphone and ask a question, I'll give you this limited edition OneDrive t-shirt. If not, I'll just chuck them into the crowd. You can fight amongst yourselves. And then finally, we'll finish off with hopefully my objective for the session is you'll walk away today with a good sense that, one, we are all in as far as OneDrive for Business is concerned. This is a massive set of investments for us, and you should feel confident about where we're heading in the future. So before we get started, I'm legally bound to put this slide in, but I want to make sure that from a Microsoft perspective, we want to acknowledge that sync is not where it needs to be. It's our #1 priority to get this right. And we need to make sure that we listen to the feedback and we get the feedback across many different channels. We hear the feedback loud and clear. Everyone's taking pictures. I don't know why, but take pictures of me. Anyway, so we've applied various updates to the existing sync client. We've certainly made progress, but by no means do we feel that we're where we need to be, certainly based on your expectations. And so our path, our course of action is to build a new sync client. But it's not just about building a new sync client from scratch. We're taking our consumer sync client, which runs for millions and millions of users, high scale, simple, reliable, robust, and we're taking that as the basis for a unified sync client. There's a gentleman by the name of Jason Moore who's going to be running a session later this afternoon. If you start heckling me, I'll point him out in person so you can lynch him later on. He's the sync guy. And the most important thing is that it's going to be available before the end of the calendar year. So I'm going to go through all of the timelines when we get into the roadmap session. But I think it's very important that we as Microsoft and you as valued customers and partners understand that we know we need to get this right, and that's our #1 priority. So let's get into the primer around OneDrive for Business. So it is the file sync and share foundation for Office 365. You're going to start to see, and you've already seen, how it fits into email, how it fits into Office. All of these things, we want OneDrive for Business to simply be the layer or foundation that your users save and work with business files in Office 365. So that's the challenge and the bar that we've set ourselves, and that's where we're investing our efforts in. It's built for informal collaboration. So we recognize also that we've got other solutions that manage files. So we've got team sites and document libraries to be able to do formal collaboration where documents are co-owned and there might be metadata and workflow and all these other aspects of a more formal collaboration process. OneDrive for Business is about users being able to store their files, being able to work on them on any device, anywhere, anytime, and being able to choose who or if they want to share those files with to collaborate. And obviously, from a Microsoft perspective, we've got some fantastic capabilities in terms of co-authoring, people being able to work on the same file at the same time. All of those things start to come into play. So we also have sync clients for PC and Mac. Mac is in preview currently, and we'll be talking about the roadmap there. And we've obviously also got a full suite of mobile apps, and I'll talk about that as well, for Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. And then finally, all of that end-user stuff that we're continuing to invest in. We need to build a service that people love to use, or in the context of where IT kind of imposes on someone the service that they use, it needs to be tolerable. So it needs to be something that doesn't get in the way of people doing their job, but we want it to be a service that people love to use. But outside that, we need to make sure that we fulfill our Office 365 promise of security, compliance, IT admin and control, auditing and reporting, and we'll talk about all of those pieces as well as we get into the roadmap section. So a few things about the basics. It's a cross-browser web client. It's, like I said, PC and Mac sync clients. In terms of how I get files initially up into OneDrive for Business, I can drag files onto the web browser canvas, or I can copy those files into my sync folder, whatever is preferable. We've really worked hard on improving the sharing. So I think that's another theme that you'll see as I go through particularly the demos. We've done a lot of incremental, tiny little investments in UI features that just make it that much easier and a bit more intuitive. So we're getting better and better and better as we go along with all of these experiences. And so sharing is one of those, which frankly was a fairly sort of jarring or disjointed process. We've now worked hard on making that easier. And you can also open that up for internal and external sharing as well. So IT admins can turn that off if it's not appropriate for your organization. We've also got rich file previewing, obviously specifically more for Office documents, PDF, but also a rich experience around images and video. So we've got some great capabilities so that you can look at files before you actually determine what your actions will be. Simple copy and move, that's another piece, and I'll show that as well, that we've brought into the user experience to make it easier. This is all feedback that we get from user voice and from customers and partners and from our own field to say, look, you've just got to make these basic functions easier to do, and we've done some work on that. From the web, you can create files and folders, and we've got a great search experience where you can actually, it uses the Office graph, and when you type in a search term, it will go and search across SharePoint Online, files that you own on OneDrive for Business, and files that have been shared with you. So it's a great, simple search experience as well. And that's even before we get into integration with Delve and so on. So let's actually go and have a look at the demo around some of the basics. Let's have a look. Okay, so what you see here is our web client, and what I'm going to do is just show the very simple experience on how I can actually drag a file onto the browser. It then uploads onto that, and I can start sort of taking action with those files. But let's look at a couple of other characteristics about the web client. So down the left-hand navigation, we've got, here's the documents or the files that I actually own. These are the things that I've uploaded and I've contributed and I'm managing. But I can also go in and actually have a look at the recent files that I've been working on, and you can start to see we're applying some of the themes from Delve. So we've got a very beautiful, simple, visual, card-like experience on how I can access recent files and be able to get into those. I can also see files that have been shared with me. So these are all of the various files and folders that have actually been shared with me. I can go in and look at site folders. So these are all of the SharePoint team sites that I follow. So really, the experience for me in OneDrive is I can get access to all of the files that I care about from the browser. And then finally, for that oops moment, I want to be able to recover files that I've accidentally or inadvertently deleted. So that's kind of the navigation. Let's just go back and show a couple of other things that we've built in. And some of these features might have only just landed. Some of them might still just be rolling out to your tenant. So this might be new for you. So let's say that we go and we do a search for sales. So you'll see that it's picked up based on that file names that match that keyword. It's also found documents that have that keyword in the content. And it's also got whether it's been shared with me, whether I own it, whether it's from a team site, and I can get into it and start working with that very, very quickly. So search is something that we've worked hard on, and that's available across the web as well as the mobile experiences. Let's have a look at also the, let's just get out of that search. Also some of the things that we can do around previewing and the types of actions that we can take there. So let's go and have, first of all, a look at the preview. So we got a very rich experience on how I can preview, in this case, Excel spreadsheets. Maybe I want to actually go in and look at the Word documents or PowerPoints, and I can actually go in and scroll through. If I want to, I can open that up and start to edit it with Office Online or the Office apps themselves. So if I go in here and I look at Edit in Word Online, now I'm going to get a very rich experience around that, and we should be able to see, we've also seen that people have been making changes in here. So if I go across, I've got another session set up. Actually, I think that just popped up for me. You'll see there that it's got Holly is actually also editing, so I can trigger conversations. I can see exactly where in the document Holly is editing, and I see those changes applied real time. And so that's a great experience in Office Online and a great experience in Office as well for people to be able to work together on those files. So that's the co-authoring, the preview. I can also, after I've done that, go and share the file. I can post it to Yammer, and there's a whole range of actions that I can take. One other thing that we've done is we've really improved how I can manage folders and invite people to folders. So let me give you an example. So I'm going to go in, create a folder. I'm going to call this, let's say, Sales Demo, and I can actually invite people as I create that folder. So let's invite Holly, give her edit access to that folder, go and create that. And now it's going to create that folder, invite Holly, send her an email so that she's got that, she can bookmark that folder, and we can start working together on any files that I place in that particular folder. So like I said, these aren't necessarily earth-shattering features in their own right, but collectively they really add up to a much nicer user experience all round. And then the last thing that we did also recently, should be in all your tenants now, is we've included a right-click behaviour. So it's a fairly common user experience paradigm to be able to right-click on something and take some actions. So we built that in here as well. So if I right-click, I now get the most common actions for that particular file type, and I can open it in the Office document or Office Online. I can download it, share it, delete it, those sorts of things. So those experiences, we're really getting better and better in terms of just the basics. We've still got a long way to go in terms of really moving that user experience forward to be a true consumer-like experience, but we're making progress all the time. And when you consider those things that I've just shown, most of those things we've only delivered in the last 3 months or so. So we are really picking up the pace on how quickly we're innovating. So let's go back to our PowerPoint, continue on. So from an Office 365 integration perspective, so we've shown you about the editing with Office and Office Online. Each user also has version control, so they can be able to roll back to previous versions. Whether or not it's made by them or another person, you retain control, that single version of the truth. If you've got an investment in Yammer, then we've got contextual Yammer document conversations. So if I open a file, I can start a Yammer conversation contextually in that window with Office Online and discuss with colleagues using Yammer that document, that file. And that file can be any format. So long as I open it from the browser, I can get those document conversations. We've also got modern attachments. So this is taking the concept of email. Everyone's familiar with how to send an attachment in email. And so what we've done is we've said, look, let's just build OneDrive for Business into that overall process and just take the friction out of it. So the scenario is I want to go and share a file with Jason. I can compose an email, click on attachment, pick a file from OneDrive for Business. It looks and feels and behaves like a physical attachment, but it's actually a link. And I can grant him edit or read-only access from that email, and I don't have to jump around the place to assign permission. So as soon as I send that email, Jason receives it. He's granted access to that particular file simply because I shared it in that fashion. So that's a great thing. That's in Outlook Web Access. We'll be bringing that to the Outlook desktop experience soon. And then finally, from a Delve perspective, how many folks are sort of familiar with or use Delve? Okay, for those that aren't, I definitely encourage you to go and check it out. But basically, Delve and the Office Graph is a new step forward in terms of understanding content, being able to search and discover people and content, and letting that content discover you. So what happens is OneDrive for Business, SharePoint, Exchange are all contributing what we call signals into the Office Graph, which is this infrastructure that we run for the service. And it builds up over time a history of signals, a history of interactions, a history of things that you do on Office 365. And then we apply machine learning to all of those signals and identify relationships that exist or identify potentially useful or relevant content for you, the user. And I'll show that. And we deliver that, we express that and display it through an experience called Delve, which is part of Office 365. So let's actually go and have a look at some of these things. So what we've got here, obviously, again, OneDrive for Business. What I wanted to show, first of all, was the sharing experience through Outlook. So let's go into our email. And in this case, I want to go and share a file with Holly. So I can go in, I can address it to Holly, pretty standard sort of stuff. And when I pick from the attachments, I can then say, okay, well, I actually want to grab a OneDrive for Business file. And again, I've got the files that I've been working on recently, the files I own, those that have been shared with me. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to pick that file that I just added, move on to the next part, and then it says, okay, look, would you like to share with OneDrive, or would you continue to like to make your life hard by having 16 different versions flying around in email? The choice is yours. The correct answer is share with OneDrive. So now I can just go and put my subject in, please review. And it looks like a physical attachment. And when they receive it, it looks like a physical attachment. But I can also go in there and I can change the permissions around what Holly can actually do with that document from there. I can view it, so I can actually, while I'm composing the email, have the document open and even be editing it as well. And I can open that in various different windows and tabs as well. So it's a really great experience on how I just send an email and manage all of the sharing. So if we look at, the experiences on why OneDrive for Business is such a critical part of Office 365 from the end user experience, this here is a great example of that. So go ahead and send that. So that's the sharing through modern attachments. Let's have a quick look at Delve. So in this context, you saw on the recent page, it laid it out in these beautiful cards. In this case, Delve is actually surfacing up to me both files that I've been frequently working on, files that have been shared with me by others, or files that have been shared that might be relevant to me. It's all gravitating towards me in this really simple experience. And if I want to, I can actually go and search for different people. So it finds Holly for me. And then she's got a view of all her files as well and the things that might be relevant to me that she's been working on or has already shared with me. And we've even got this concept of boards. So for those that use Flipboard or other solutions, you can actually go and pin these files into useful community-like boards, or you can use it for your own rights. But it's a great way to be able to go and collect and tag and favorite things that are relevant or interesting to you. So this is really changing the way that people can kind of keep track of and manage their files. And we're bringing Delve experiences onto mobiles and other experiences as well. So it's a pretty strong story in terms of search and discovery. Let's just jump back to our OneDrive files for just a second. And another thing that we can do here is we can look at the version history. So I'll right-click, wrong file, right-click on this guy, have a look at the version history, and it will give me a breakdown of all of the versions that have been going on and who's made the changes. And if I want to, I can actually go and view that particular version. I can roll back or restore to make that the most up-to-date version of the file. But again, because it's my file and it's on OneDrive for Business, I retain that control. So it keeps me in control of that process and in control of my content, even though I might have chosen to share. So let's actually switch back to the slides and start to look at the mobile experiences. So 6 months ago, if I was standing here and talking to you, we had a pretty weak and disjointed mobile experience. So we have, obviously, we've got two flavors of OneDrive. We've got our consumer and our business, or as the smart people will say, OneDrive equals two drives, and I laugh hysterically and go, I haven't heard that one before. And we had these disparate apps. So we had this consumer app. We had, for Android, we had no OneDrive for Business experience. And it was, you know, sometimes you used a mobile browser, and it was confusing for users as well. When I found an app on the App Store for wherever I was, and it was called OneDrive, it didn't work for OneDrive for Business. It was very, very frustrating. So we took the first step in August of last year of releasing what we call our unified Android app. And we've now got unified apps across all of our platforms where a user can connect to their consumer and their business OneDrives and manage it all from the one app. And not only can you just get a view of your files, you can do a lot of things on those files and with your OneDrive. You can upload files, so if I take a photo, I can go and upload that to my personal or my OneDrive for Business. I can actually go and edit, so obviously Microsoft from an Office perspective is making huge investments in Office on iPad and Android. So I've got a really rich experience in terms of how I actually work with files that are sitting on my OneDrive for Business while I'm out of the office on my mobile device. We've got a rich search experience to be able to find files. I can go and recover files from the recycle bin, so I can go into the recycle bin. I can see files that have been shared with me. And as of last week, we just added a new experience in terms of being able to share files and folders and grant people permissions on that. So really rounding out the share experience on the mobile. So where you've seen, and I'll demo this in just a second, where you've seen us come from is a fairly disparate, sort of jarring, broken experience on the web, disparate experiences on the mobile, and frustrations about I can do things here, but I can't do them there. Now we feel good about, we've got a platform where we say users can do almost all of the most fundamental actions that they need to on any browser, on any device, wherever they are. And so that's something that we feel pretty good. There's still a long way to go in terms of our investments in the mobile, and I'll talk about some of those investments when we get to the roadmap section. So let's actually have a look at the iOS app. So this is the most recent released one, and you can see here from a OneDrive perspective, pretty simple layout of my files and folders, but I can actually really simply toggle between both my personal and one or more OneDrive for Business accounts. So if you're in multiple Office 365 tenants, you can connect to multiple OneDrive for Business accounts. So as I move into my work files, now I've got all of my files and folders, and I can start, taking actions on these sorts of things. So I can, open particular files. I've got a very rich editing experience on those particular files. And again, I'll see if someone is co-authoring those particular files as well. So I'm no longer limited by just being able to view, so I can go and edit those files as I need to. So that's one aspect that I've got. Another thing down the bottom, you'll see that I'm currently looking at the view of my files. I can also go and look in at my recent files as well, and I get a view of files shared with me. So again, this is all down to feedback that we got about the mobile app, some of it not very pleasant, I might point out, you naughty people. And so we took that feedback and we built these views in, so shared with me and so on. Another thing that we've done now is we've actually, so let's say I have a folder of work photos, and what I want to be able to do is actually go and add an item to there. I can take a photo, or I can choose an existing file off the camera roll and go ahead and upload that, and that'll then push that up into my OneDrive for Business. So that was another thing, and we'll get better at the offline side of things about how I can edit them and push them up into the OneDrive for Business. But we got some great experiences now on the mobile. Let's go back to the main area. I can also go and do that search. So let's go and search for sales. And again, it finds those documents that either have that content or have the file name with that keyword. So it's a really great experience. Plus, if I get out of there, I can even get access to my recycle bin. If I want to go and recover files, if I go back, I can also go in and change to more of a thumbnail view. So we've got different ways on visualizing the files and managing the files. I can go in and copy and move files. I can share files. So let's say that we go into, let's say I wanted to share the sales demo folder. I can go in and go into sharing and permissions, invite people, and I can pick from my contacts. So let's say Molly, and I'll share it with her. Go ahead and add that, and now it's going to go and share that as well. So again, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, we didn't have any of that functionality available in the mobile apps. We're churning out new functionality for the OneDrive mobile apps every 4, worst case 6 weeks on each of the platforms. So lots of great stuff coming along there. Okay, let's keep trucking along. So now we switch over to the IT, the security, control, compliance. So it's all very well to provide a great user experience, and I think you'd agree we're starting to get there. But from an IT perspective, it's really important to be able to secure the corporate files, make sure that there's a level of governance and understanding about what you constitute sensitive data to be. And so many of these features are either currently in pre-release and rolling out very, very soon, or we've actually already rolled them out. So let's just go through a laundry list of some of these things, and I'll demo a number of these as well. So auditing and reporting, it's currently in pre-release. We'll be rolling that out broadly soon, and that's about being able to filter and query and investigate and understand usage activity on OneDrive for Business. So if I wanted to, between a certain time frame, I'm able to understand what Ruben Krippner has been doing on OneDrive for Business, and I'll show a demo of that. From a data loss prevention perspective, we've had that in Exchange Online for some time, where you can define policies about what constitutes sensitive data types and set policies and rules around what happens when someone sends a social security number in an email. Well, we're taking that and we're applying that to OneDrive for Business and SharePoint Online. So now, if I define that, look, I want no one to be able to, or not no one, I want to be alerted if someone uploads a file to OneDrive for Business that has a social security number or a tax file number or what have you, we want to, one, bring up a policy tip for the employee. We also want to send them an email notification and one or more other people to be notified that there's been a breach of this particular policy. So that's in place, and you can also define rules around settings so that the file can't be accessed. So you can restrict or block access to that sensitive file through these DLP rules. So like I said, that's in pre-release now. We'll go to preview during the course of the summer and will be available by the end of the calendar year. E-discovery, we've had that in place for some time on the SharePoint side, so I can define cases if I want to place legal holds on certain documents, do investigations about certain data or types of information in files, take copies of that for if there's some kind of legal ramifications for it. Mobile device management, our mobile apps are now manageable via Intune and MDM for Office 365. So whether that's at the device level of encryption support, setting pins, making sure that they're not jailbroken devices, all of that great stuff, conditional access, as well as the app management on being able to do remote wipe of the app and the data. And we're going to get better on that. I'll talk about that in the roadmap. You can IRM protect OneDrive for Business libraries. We are bringing out in the coming weeks the ability for IT to block sync on unmanaged PCs. So if it's a non-domain joined PC, you can flick the switch that says, we don't want to allow sync to occur on that. So all of these things are accruing to how IT can keep in control, govern and manage all of these important corporate files. Data retention policies, you'll be able to set up rules to say, look, if a file hasn't been modified in the last 12 months, push that off to the recycle bin, and that applies to SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. And then finally, and not most importantly, but very important, our whole Office 365 promise is around security and compliance. We lead the market in investing in security and compliance, whether it's encryption at rest, whether it's ISO compliance, EU model clauses, HIPAA, FISMA, all these industry standards as well, and we'll continue to invest in that. The key point is that OneDrive for Business being part of Office 365 and running in those data centers and running as part of that platform automatically get all of those certification and compliance as well. So again, we're really building from an IT platform that people love and people trust, and we're building up to the user experience that people will want to make use of those tools. So let me just go in and we're going to do a demo of the auditing and reporting. So we are releasing a whole new set of administrative controls called the Compliance Center. And the Compliance Center is where you'll manage MDM for Office 365, data retention, DLP, a whole range of things. And we're really doing a lot around the admin experience. So let's just go into the Compliance Center. And from here, I've got a range of things that I can drive. But let's go and have a look, first of all, at the reporting. So in the reports, I want to go in and look at the Office 365 activity report. And so here I can define, first of all, a date and time range that I'm interested in. So backing up, the scenario that we're looking for is I want to understand, I've got concerns about the behavior of, Jason on OneDrive for Business and the files that he's storing or the actions that he's taking. This is the first step in a tool that allows you to query and understand what's going on. So I can also filter not only on time range, I can filter on action as well. So maybe I want to understand how many files have been shared during the course of that particular time frame. So when I rerun the search, it will go and filter that out. And then if you look down the bottom, as I look at each of these rows, on the right-hand side is all of the context about that particular action. So various IDs, what type of file it was, what file format, what the operation was, if it was sharing, who it was shared with. So in this case, Barbara Kim, we shared the file with her, and all kinds of other information about that. So we're collecting all the telemetry on that in the service, and this is the first step in exposing that and making it filterable as well. Plus, I can also go and filter by one or more users if I want to tailor that down to specific users. And I can even, if I want to, go and search for a particular file and understand all of the touch points for a specific file. So it's a really great tool to start doing investigation and understanding. It's not a tool yet for measuring and understanding adoption of OneDrive for Business, but it's certainly a start, and it gives us all the instrumentation that we need. And then the final piece on the auditing and reporting is I can actually go and export those files, export those rows out to a CSV file. We're releasing an API for this. You might have seen the announcement. I'll go through that in the roadmap in just a second. So that's the auditing and reporting. Let's have a quick look at the data loss prevention. So I've pre-set up a couple of rules. I can define that we've got about 50 predefined sensitive data types. In this case, I've set up an Australian data policy. I've said that I want it to cover both SharePoint Online, or I can switch on or off OneDrive for Business. And once I've done that, I can also go in and look at the rules. So if we look at the rule set for this Oz data, what it's doing is it's saying, okay, if any file that goes up onto OneDrive for Business contains a bunch of these different data types, then what I want to be able to do is I can define multiple conditions, by the way. Then what I want to be able to do is I want to block access to that content. So I can say, all right, if it's got that in, I don't want anyone else to search, discover, be able to open it up. I want that completely locked down. And I can also nominate who I want the email alerts to go to. So the user automatically gets an email to say, hey, just so you're aware. And we call this concept people-centric compliance. So we recognise that the vast bulk of people don't get up in the morning and look to do malicious activities. But there's always that oops moment where I share that list of celebrities' phone numbers. And, you know, quite frankly, I'll never live that down. But so we want to be able to protect people from themselves, and that's what this is here. It's about notifying people so they can take corrective action, but obviously reserving the right to block access to those files as well if you're concerned about how sensitive they are. And then you can also go and drive and run incident reports. So you can, over a period of time, understand how many breaches of policy X there were, drill into who those people were, so you can start to do kind of follow-ups proactively with, you know, people that have breached these DLP policies. So that's a very quick overview of DLP. We've got other sessions on that during the course of this week where we'll get into a lot more detail. So let's keep cracking along. Now we're on to the vision and roadmap section. So we constantly I get a lot of feedback. Gee, you're good looking, that sort of stuff. But I get a lot of feedback on the product. And the feedback is, why can't you just make the consumer experience, or why can't you just make the consumer experience work on OneDrive for Business? And so what we're actually doing is we are driving the experiences across end user, so that's web, mobile, and sync, and unifying them into a single set of experiences. We want people, end users, to be able to access their work or their personal files in a seamless single experience. We're still not unifying the back end, that still stays the same, and the user doesn't care about that. But we want to make sure that we've got a simple, consumer-like experience across any endpoint on how they work with their files. And that's what the Office 365, OneDrive for Business, SharePoint Online platform brings us today, is that enterprise-grade IT. It brings us all of security and compliance and all that sort of stuff. So we want to take that, not compromise on it, but bring all of the great, simple consumer user experiences into one single canvas that everyone can work with. And so that's the direction. That's our North Star. And you've seen us deliver on that with the mobile client. I'll show you in a minute what it looks like as far as some of the work we're doing around previews of the web client, and Sync is going to be also a unified experience as well. So we've got two broad sections of the roadmap. One, this is stuff that is going to be product experience, that is end user facing. So if we look at stuff that we're currently already rolling out, I showed the mobile sharing user experience. That's available on iOS, Android and Windows Phone. So we're making it simpler when I'm on the mobile device to share and be able to grant access. We're also surfacing the DLP policy tips. So when I go in and I define a DLP rule, I can set some text that sort of says, hey, here's the reason why we flagged this up. And it'll be very clear, evident icon for the end user about what the problem is with a file that they've uploaded into OneDrive for Business. The remainder of Q2, the remainder of this quarter, is about new experiences with PDFs on our iOS and Android apps. So a richer way on viewing and searching and working with PDF files in OneDrive, in the OneDrive for Business app. You'll be able to send a link from Outlook on iOS and Android from a OneDrive for Business. One of the cool features that we're bringing in is the ability, when I receive an email with an attachment, in Outlook Web Access, I'll be able to, with one click or touch, save that attachment into OneDrive for Business. We've got it in the consumer service today. We're bringing it to the business experience. And then over time, we'll bring that into the Outlook desktop experience as well. And then we're also setting up the first set of a journey around how we allow the user to set expiration dates for sharing links. So anonymous shares, so not a named user I share with, but when I go get a link and I can email that off to someone, I can set an expiration date on when that link becomes deactivated. Q3 is when we bring to preview the next-gen sync client. So this is for both PC and Mac. This is when we'll be in preview. Through your account teams, there'll be loads of information we're providing about how to get the bits. The great news is that the preview bits will upgrade to the production bits once we get those out, and it's a really simple experience. Jason Moore's running a session after this, which will go into a deep dive around what we're doing with Sync, how we're proving that it's reliable, how it works, all of that stuff. So I encourage you to go to that session. We're also bringing in the unified web user experience. So for those that use our consumer OneDrive service today, we're taking the look and feel and the theme and the behavior from that and applying it to OneDrive for Business. So we really want to make that a simple experience, and we'll bring that, I'll give you a quick demo on that in just a second. We'll bring read-only mobile offline files to our iOS and Android apps. So this will allow me to flag particular files, take them offline, view them, not edit them, but I can take them offline and view them from there. And we'll be adding editing experiences as we move forward. I'll talk about that as well. From an end user perspective on the sharing side, today we've improved how I can share with people, but we haven't really improved how I can revoke sharing access. So the scenario goes, I share with a virtual team for a week. At the end of that week, I've got all of their input. I want to retain sole control of the file. I don't want to have anyone else gaining access to it. Today, I've got to go into the view who's sharing it and remove everyone that I've shared it with, which is fine if it's only a couple of people. It gets a bit annoying otherwise. So we're going to have a kill switch, a one click or touch to just stop or revoke sharing for a file to take complete control back for that. And then we're introducing another feature called company shareable links. And this is where we want to make it really easy to share files inside the organization. So if I want to share with Jason and I can copy a link, I can email that to him, Jason can then forward that on to anyone else. And so long as they're inside the organization, when they click on that link, they get added to the access control list. So how does that differ from shared with everyone? Well, with shared with everyone, it is fully discoverable. You can search for it, you see it in Delve, it's publicly available. For a company shareable link, it's only visible for someone who's actually clicked on the link and gone into the access control list for that particular file. So it's a subtle difference, but we want to make sure that we don't get in the way of people being able to share content inside the organization. So that's Q3. Then we get into Q4, and that's when we'll have general availability on the PC and Mac sync clients. We'll have taken all of the feedback from the preview, made sure that it's rock solid, and get that out and available for everyone. Anyone who's previewed the sync client, it will automatically upgrade, and we're building some smarts into it as well. So if you're using the existing Groove client, there'll be a great, simple, frictionless user experience for those users as well. And in Q4, we'll also bring out our Windows 10 Universal app. So this is bringing all of the capabilities that we've been delivering for iOS and Android and bringing that to a touch and gesture optimized app for Windows 10 on phone, tablet, or PC. Then we got this other bucket of stuff called planned, but we don't have any timelines, but we want you to know that we're working on it. So offline mobile editing, the ability to actually take a file, edit it offline, and sync the changes back. That's number one. Shortly followed by the ability to take whole folders offline and be able to edit them and push them back. We'll also bring in annotation support for PDFs on OneDrive for Business as well, so adding notes and comments in a great mobile optimized experience for PDFs. We'll bring that modern attachments construct that I demoed in Outlook Web Access, we'll bring that to the Outlook app, and we'll also add new capabilities for users to set expiration dates on all external sharing. So we'll continue that investment in expiration and managing expiration of shares. We'll also be bringing some stuff for IT to be able to set a maximum period of time that a user can share a link for as well. So that's the end user experience. Let's look at the security, control, compliance and developer audience. So we're currently rolling out, just coming out of pre-release into production for auditing and reporting. We are within weeks of rolling out disabling sync for unmanaged PCs. That DLP stuff that I just showed you, we'll be going into preview on that very soon. And we've recently launched a unified OneDrive API. So not only across the end user spectrum, also for developers, you'll have one modern REST-based API that you can build apps to connect to OneDrive Consumer and OneDrive for Business and using the same syntax. There's obviously some functional differences on the things that you can call based on consumer and business, but the API is consistent and unified. Then we get into the remainder of this quarter, and this is things like we're releasing a migration API, so the ability to programmatically push large volumes of files into SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. The auditing and reporting, we're also releasing the management activity API. So this allows you to programmatically work with that data, maybe archive it on-prem if it's a compliance requirement, plumb that into whatever BI engines that you're running, and be able to do that analysis around usage and adoption and all those things that you want to be able to measure with OneDrive for Business. And we'll bring in also the ability for IT admin to define a storage quota. So 1 terabyte is obviously for most users relatively unlimited storage, but we have organizations that really want to throttle the amount of storage space they grant their users in OneDrive for Business. And obviously as we move towards unlimited storage, which is a commitment we've made, we want to empower IT to govern how much storage that they use. Then in Q3, we'll get into allow and deny lists of domains for external sharing. So maybe I'm going to deny people the ability to share with gmail.com, but I'm comfortable with allowing people to share with fabricam.com or what have you. So putting more controls in there so you can tighten how external sharing, you can switch it completely off, or you might want to be able to limit the domains that it can be shared with. We'll also, just on that point of external sharing, an email is generated every time an external share goes out. You'll have the option to archive those, and all we'll do is we blind copy into one or more mailboxes that you nominate, pipe those emails into that archive mailbox, so you've got another record outside the auditing and reporting. You've got another record of when external share activities took place. And then from an Intune MDM support perspective, we'll be bringing in the ability to delineate between personal and business OneDrive files. So today, if you remote wipe the app and the device for OneDrive, it will remove the personal files as well as the business files. But obviously from a consumer perspective, if it's your device, all you do is go and reinstall the public OneDrive app, and you can reconnect to your personal cloud files. So it's not a big onerous thing, but we're bringing in the ability to say when you do a wipe, you can do a selective wipe just of the business files on the mobile. Then we get into more on building on DLP. So we're going to include things like exceptions for locations and different conditions. So putting in exceptions rather than just rules. The ability to say when a DLP policy is breached, I want to automatically apply IRM to that particular OneDrive library. So lots of things that you can do, plus a whole bunch of stuff around fingerprinting and classification. So you can say, this document is a spec, and so therefore gets these DLP policies applied automatically. So there's some really great stuff if you're into different complex kind of content types and you want to run DLP to make sure that the right file ends up in the right place. So that's the DLP phase 3. We'll also allow admins to disable external sharing for specific users. So maybe the legal team, you don't want to allow them to be able to share externally, but you're comfortable with the marketing team or the event planning team or whoever being able to share externally. So you'll be able to do that. And then, wait for it, with the advent of the next-gen client, we will remove the 20,000 file limit from OneDrive for Business. You are a tough crowd. That's the first time I get a clap. Anyway. And we'll also be bringing large file support in. So we'll have, hey, now we're getting into it. So you'll be able to increase from 2 gig as the maximum file size to 10 gig. So it's really going to move us forward from an end user perspective. And then again, in the bucket of planned but no timelines that we can communicate right now, we made the commitment at the end of last year to move to unlimited storage, and we will we will start to roll that out to our customers before the end of this calendar year. We'll bring in DLP support on the mobile endpoints, so the same experience that we have on the web, we'll bring that to the mobile apps. Excuse me. We'll also allow you to set up relationships across tenants on Office 365. So maybe there's vendor relationships that you've got that you want to be able to set up unique sharing permissions between 2 tenants. You'll have better ability to do that from a sharing model perspective. And then on top of that, we'll also bring in usage reporting. So taking all of that telemetry and instrumentation that we've captured, building on the auditing and reporting and building on the API we've delivered, and giving IT or the business the ability to understand truly the adoption of OneDrive for Business, how many active users, how many active OneDrives, total storage consumed, all of those metrics that we can collect, we'll be aggregating and providing a report for you. So that's the roadmap. What I wanted to do just very briefly was give you a quick rundown on a couple of things. So let me switch over first of all to the demo machine. And I'm going to go in and just give you a very brief glimpse of what the unified web user experience is going to look like. So for those that work with our consumer client today, this is very, very consistent with the look and feel. Again, just nicely laid out, many aspects of the navigation the same, but much simpler to be able to select files, particularly on a touch and gesture-based device. So let's say I want to apply actions to this file. Now all my key actions are up the top here. So maybe I want to download, open it, share it. I want to be able to create, new files or folders. I want to be able to look at the version history, those sorts of things. So it's a really simple, clean user experience that is consistent. So if you are a OneDrive consumer user, this is going to be completely familiar. If you're an existing OneDrive for Business user, it's going to tidy things up. It's going to make it better for a tablet or a touch and gesture-based device, and just overall gives a facelift, a clean look and feel to it. And there's a few other things. I can do different sort orders. I can change things into more of an icon or tile-driven fashion. So it really is moving us forward. So once we get to, this is coming out in Q3 of this calendar year. Once we get to this, plus we build on the mobile and we start to deliver that sync experience, we really should be in the realm of being a very compelling experience and a very compelling platform for IT and end users. One other thing that I wanted to do, just let me log in here. Let's have a look, VGA1. Just wanted to give you the very first preview just to prove that it's just not words of the next-gen sync client. Jason's going to take you through that. But you'll see here we've got two icons that's going to get consolidated down into one. But we've got our OneDrive Microsoft. These are my OneDrive files. Bringing in that, if I go into Settings and I go into Choose Folders, now I've got selective sync in terms of the folders that I want to be able to take offline. Yeah, you can tell Jason that that was my idea. No, it was actually, it was the entire world's idea. We were just having to listen in a little more slowly than we would have liked. But he'll go through in full detail about that sync client, the sync experience, and the work we're doing. So definitely go to that. I think it's the time slot after this one. So let's close things out. So first of all, hopefully, if nothing else, we're all in. We're massively committed to OneDrive for Business. I think you've seen a huge number of investments that we're making. It's massively strategic for Office 365, and you've seen in a short period of time how much innovation we're bringing in. Long way to go, but we're still doing it. We will fix sync, we will get it right, and we're going to fix it this year. A couple of follow-up sessions. So Jason's session on sync. There's a thing on attachments, modern attachments, and some of the cool stuff there. We've also got management and control around SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business, so from an IT admin perspective, as well as a great session on external sharing, business-to-business type models, and how you can do cross-organisation collaboration. Go to, for all the latest news, every time we do any kind of meaningful release, new features, we'll put it on the OneDrive blog. And yesterday we launched a new customer success blog, which is all about tips and tricks, useful ideas, how it applies to different industries. So really trying to put more investment in terms of helping fuel you guys with ideas on the potential for OneDrive for Business. And then finally, OneDrive.uservoice.com. We have weekly meetings on this in the product group, and we take this feedback very, very seriously. So definitely get in there, cast your vote, make your suggestions. Many of those things are making it into the product, and will definitely make it into the product over the next sort of 3 to 9 months. So we take that feedback very, very seriously. So that's all I had time for. I think there's, oh yeah, please evaluate me. I get fired if you evaluate me badly, so think well of me. And I will close for anyone who wants to leave, go for it. Anyone who wants to ask questions, feel free at the mics. Anyone who asks a question, that's, you get a T-shirt. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, folks. We'll start with you, sir.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
In using OneDrive, I noticed that the user used his personal OneDrive account and was able to sync all the files off of the company's server onto his personal device. Is that supposed to be the intention of OneDrive? Because the next part of that is that now that they have synced the company files onto their personal device, make the changes, I'm unable to get those files to come back onto the company's server.
Sure. Let me answer that. That's it's not an intended behavior. It certainly shouldn't be happening. So if you come up afterwards, I'll get the details. But the sync clients for the two servers are completely separate. The security model is completely separate. So that's an anomaly I think we'll look into for you. Yes, sir.
Is there a plan to allow you to drag and drop a folder in the web client?
Yep. No time frames on that, though. Yeah. But it's definitely the next thing about how we can make it easy to get large volumes of files in there. Yeah, folders is the next thing. Yes, sir.
In talking about not letting sync happen to unmanaged PCs,
yep.
Would that be able to be selected by user?
Not initially. So initially it will be an on or off for the tenant. We are looking at all of our IT admin investments applying to Azure Active Directory AUs. So that scenario there of saying, you know what, I'm actually okay with the event team being able to take things off on unmanaged PCs. But the initial release, what I talked about here today, is purely for the entire tenant. Thanks. Yeah.
So
sorry.
if OneDrive for personal use is to keep your personal files, and SharePoint Enterprise Library is to put your enterprise content up there.
Yep.
How would you say business should distinguish? Because I'm facing business users to be sort of, oh, when do you use SharePoint Library?
Yeah.
When do you use OneDrive for business?
Yeah. And it's a very common question where we need to find, one, balancing the right motivation to use SharePoint. The short answer is that SharePoint is there, document libraries are there for more formal collaboration projects. So where there's workflow or you need content types, those sorts of things, that's where SharePoint is, that's what SharePoint is designed to do and will continue to be invested in. And obviously on top of that, the great thing with a SharePoint document library is that everything's co-owned. So you're granted permission into that library, but you don't own the document. Whereas OneDrive, it's very much about individual ownership. Now, in terms of driving behaviours about when to use what, there's various ways from saying you've got to use it or else, through to what you'll find is some of the DLP capabilities that we're bringing in will notify people to say that piece of content's not appropriate to be on your OneDrive for Business. It should go there into SharePoint, let's say. And because you're able to define the policy tips, you'll be able to give them that guidance. And you'll have all the exception reports in DLP to know if someone, didn't take appropriate steps to do it, you'll be able to follow up in that regard.
Two things. I think one, I would highly recommend probably stating that somewhere
Sure.
on your website so that's rather clear. And two, maybe there's I didn't see it on your roadmap, but maybe there should be a level of integration where you would say, now you can send the file to a certain library, and that goes and saves when the file is ready for.
Yeah, and that's a great suggestion. We are exploring that scenario of kind of a publish or a share or something along those lines. There's a lot of security aspects that we got to figure through, but that's exactly. And then on top of that, we're also bringing into the mix the next-gen portals that we're delivering as well. So there's the potential that, hey, I'm working on a HR document and I want that to be published off to the HR portal. We're looking at what those mechanisms look like. I'll set the expectation there's nothing in the short term in that regard, but we're certainly thinking about it. Yes, sir, up the back. Sorry.
So a question about shared with me files. Are there any plans to make them syncable?
So, yes. Let's just leave it at that, yes.
Okay, and another question. I'm running Windows 10 preview.
Yep.
And the change between the Windows 8 I understand is that files which are not syncing to my device are hidden, so I'm not seeing them.
Right.
And to be honest, it's disturbing the workflow. So I need to open the browser and look there for files. And look there.
Gotcha.
Any plans to change this behavior?
So I'm pretty confident that there's some teething problems going on with Windows 10 right now. I would definitely take it up with Jason at the next session. He'll be able to give you that insight. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, I attended the pre-conference session on the hybrid O365 experience when you were talking about OneDrive for Business.
Yep.
Can you briefly describe the user experience for those people that are using OneDrive for Business on-prem and OneDrive for Business Office 365 and what they'll see? Yeah,
so the intention is, and I'll be very candid, I'm not the hybrid expert in terms of the roadmap moving into SharePoint 2016. But the intention is that the user basically has a seamless experience. So they're oblivious to the fact that their OneDrive files are actually in the cloud and common search across that canvas. But in terms of I know that there's actually a hybrid session during the course of this week. So I encourage you to check that out. The guy's name is Bill Bear. He'll be presenting that. Definitely go and check that out.
Thank you.
Cool. Yes, sir.
Question we get a lot is
environment, and we have System Center set up, and there's not really a standalone app to push out OneDrive for Business.
Yep.
Is there a roadmap for getting us offline installer, silent installer?
Yep. Next-gen sync. So today, the existing sync client is kind of bundled and coupled with a bunch of Office 2013 binaries. That causes some challenges. So we're building it completely standalone. The actual installer is less than 10 meg in size. So it's like, plop it down there and just get it up and running. Yeah. I'll go to this mic. Yep.
There was two things on the roadmap that I did and also we would see stub files simply come back.
All right. Stub files, yeah. Talk to Jason. I'm not being elusive, but talk to Jason. I am being elusive on the sync front. And on the mobile front, it's definitely, we want to get all of these RMS, DLP, MDM, all at the right endpoints. It's certainly the first focus is around DLP. So the reason why it's not there is it's definitely on kind of the to-do list. It's just not on a committed to-do list that we feel comfortable right now.
Since
Yeah.
the applications are going to be adapt directly.
Exactly. And the coupled with that also is the MDM front of making sure that you can govern from an MDM perspective where if you open Word on iPad, where you can open from and save to, because that's another potential point of leakage. So Intune closes that hole. Yeah, exactly. Yes, sir.
I need to take these documents from here to intake.
Yep.
The tools right now are available in the framework to do that.
Not right now. So, and that was kind of related to a similar question. You're exactly on a scenario that we're just thinking through how we'll deal with. That point of saying, okay, I've started the file, I've collaborated informally with a group, and now I want to push it into maybe it's a spec or maybe it's some kind of technical document. I want to move that into a more formal team site document library. We're still kind of figuring out what that mechanism is. Obviously, the short answer is, I can download it and drag it on. It's not the best experience, but it can be done. But we want to get into more of a publishing metaphor about how to move it to different areas. Yeah, great feedback. Yes, sir.
Oh, is this on?
Yeah.
Ruben, you talked about that was O365, Office Online. I heard the hybrid, you're completely on-prem.
Yep.
Have you got any insight into what we can expect of these wonderful features that you showed there on-prem?
I would say that the vast bulk of what we've talked about here is what's committed for the cloud. Our strategy for on-prem is always we'll take what we can from the cloud and apply that to on-prem. I couldn't on a laundry list here categorically say yes or no at this point, but that's the way that we operate. And I know that they're doing, for SharePoint 2016, they're doing a bunch of different investments there to bring some of those concepts down. But for example, some of the challenges around like Delve and stuff, we just really can't take that on-prem, but point well taken, yeah. We want to get better in terms of how we advise on-prem about what's coming. And SharePoint 2016, we sort of started to uncover the details. We'll get more and more detailed as we go through this year.
We like the DLP stuff that shows with sharing.
Yep.
So my hope would be don't forget about this.
Okay. Definitely not. Let's go to this mic.
So I guess going along with that, we're completely on-prem, and I think like the 4 other people here that are all on-prem. Are we going to get left behind when that next-gen sync client comes out for both, I guess, Mac PC, and then even for iOS? Because right now, if you use iOS OneDrive for a business client, it's just Office 365, and then we're kind of stuck in the weeds on this antiquated client.
Yeah. I will set expectations that the first release will be cloud only. We're still working on what the longer-term strategy and how we can cater for hybrid and on-prem. But I don't want to misrepresent that, what we talked about here today is cloud only. But I don't want that to be viewed as a signal that we're walking away from on-prem? Absolutely not. It's just a case on our cloud priorities in terms of where we are, and customer demand is high on that sync, and we need to get that working. But then we'll look at the other deployment models as well.
Okay, because we're getting a lot of significant heat for all the sync issues and everything for that. So
Understood.
From, I guess, a appetite of how much do we want to continue to try this OneDrive for Business.
Gotcha.
So I'm losing a lot of reputation in the office
Okay.
for that. So
No,
just relay that back to you guys.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the feedback, and it's something that we recognise, and we've got some prioritisation that we need to do, and it's not going to suit everyone, but we're not going to leave you high and dry, but we need to come out with a clearer statement for on-prem as soon as we can. Yeah, thanks.
The user activity reports you showed us, does that depend on the auditing tools?
I don't believe so. Let me follow up on that. I'll get a card for you. I don't believe it depends on the auditing settings.
Is it for rights?
Oh, it's for basically it's about 25 actions that we log. That's view, share, delete, create, upload, download. There's a whole list of them. So the intention is that basically if you share a file or if you take any meaningful action on a file, it'll be audited and then exposed through the report. Yeah.
Any time frame for visibility of metadata in the OneDrive for Business client?
So from a metadata perspective, we've tended to prioritize that in the SharePoint experience. From a OneDrive perspective, we're focusing more about just getting the fundamentals right of sync and editing and all of that sort of stuff and how it fits in. Obviously, at the platform level, it being on SharePoint Online, we've got that pedigree and that platform. But because we've got a fair backlog of work to get done, we haven't prioritised that just yet. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
Tying into the earlier questions about team sites and document libraries, at the moment, the Windows client, current sync client, I think the only one that allows you to sync those libraries offline.
Yep.
So is the plan to still have that in the new sync client?
So the new sync client will be OneDrive for Business only to start off with. We're still baking the plans on what the broader sync strategy is for all of those properties. But what we release in terms of the timelines I talked about there, purely for OneDrive for Business Cloud.
And the second piece of that is, I've noticed in the mobile apps, there's a couple different terms for site folders and followed.
Yep.
Are those going to be consistent and eventually able to be accessed offline?
So interestingly enough, the followed metaphor was more applicable in the team sites world where you were actually interested in a body of activity. Because of the sharing construct in OneDrive, there's not really so much the need to follow a document because by being in a sharing relationship, you inherently are. So we're not going to take those concepts forward with OneDrive for Business. We're absolutely going to keep those in the team site and document library construct.
So the site folders would be the same thing?
Yeah. So the site folders in the web experience will still be there. The ability, so if you've followed SharePoint team sites, that'll still be there in the navigation. But from a mobile perspective, we're not doing it simply because it'd be a fairly jarring experience moving from kind of a rich app to the mobile browser app. So we're going to try and keep those separately. Just on the mobile front, we're still working through what our mobile plans are for apps for SharePoint document libraries. Not much to say at this point, but we're actively working through that. So we want a great mobile experience for anyone when they're working just with their files or working with team files. But we are also recognising we've got an increasing generation of users that are they're not necessarily using both. They're using one or the other. So we want to make sure we've got great experiences for those.
Thank you. One feedback there would be that we really utilize team sites heavily.
Yeah.
And we don't want stuff in personal sites.
Yeah.
It's structured.
Yep.
So it's important to be able to...
Understood. And we also want to make sure that we've got a consistent experience for how people manage files wherever they are or manage the files that they care about. But what we are signalling, though, is that we want to move away from a kind of a one-size-fits-all app. Because, again, if you look at the other consumer and business file sync share solutions, Box and Dropbox and stuff, they've got very simple, clean experiences for those. So we owe it for our end users first to get that right for file sync share But we also recognise that we've got a broad set of file management solutions, and we've got to have a good mobile answer for all of them. Yeah, but great feedback. Yep, sorry. Oh, sorry guys, I'll just go up here, sorry.
Oh, I thought we'd been forgotten.
Yeah, sorry.
Is there ever going to be a vision of the metadata and column sorting being able to be brought back into File Explorer so that off-site or synced files can be navigated and searched the same way?
I would say that's unlikely in the short term. Again, I'd point to, not that we won't consider it, it's just that we've got so many immediate priorities we've got to get right on the sync experience. That won't be one of the short-term priorities, would be the answer there.
Okay, because it goes completely against the grain of storing files flat in SharePoint. Makes it very hard to use it in Explorer.
Understood. And I think the tension that we wrestle with too is that, like I said, we've got an increasing generation of users and customers that don't use SharePoint, and so we've kind of started this world where they were one and the same, and we're now trying to kind of cater for two broad sets of interests, but it's a point well taken.
Yeah, I get a lot of resistance from clients as a result.
Right. Thanks. Yeah, we'll go up the back row for a bit.
In terms of data retention policies, if a user deletes something in OneDrive for Business, is there going to be any control for IT to say how long that can be kept and restored then for that user?
Yeah, there's not. The data retention workflow that we have in place today on SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business is, if a user deletes it, it goes into their recycle bin for 93 days. And then from there it spills into an admin accessible recycle bin, and it can stay there up to 90 days. And then beyond that, we kind of say, hey, we don't have any guarantees about where it's at. From a data retention perspective, I know that they're looking to address that, and obviously the auditing reports will help that. What's the behaviour that you're kind of looking? So let's say for argument's sake, the user deletes a file. In your context, what should happen at that point?
Well, I'm only, from a government perspective, there may be a records request that I have to go back a number of days past 180,
right,
potentially.
Right.
And so we currently have all the files stored on a local network share that we back up, and we keep that in at a minimum usually for 3 to 5 years.
Gotcha.
And so if I'm going to replace personal shares on our local network and have users utilize OneDrive,
yep,
which they are starting to,
yep,
but we've made it clear we're not backing that up
gotcha,
in the same manner,
gotcha,
as local drives. But if that's a possibility in the future, obviously I'd like to push them, yeah, to OneDrive.
So would it be, let's say that there was some kind of event notification that sort of said, you know, basically a file's been deleted, or you were able to write some kind of job that says, you know, these files which are set to be completely deleted, you could archive those off on-prem. Is that something that would be valued? The challenge we got, obviously, is we just can't say bottomless, limitless historical files.
Yeah, I think actually that would work. If we would be notified when we were getting close to that 180 days,
yep,
these deleted files are going to go away,
yep,
and we could pull those off,
yep,
and store those locally. That
okay.
Most likely they would never be used.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But in government, we can't just...
Understood. Government financial services completely understand the needs there. Yeah, cool. Great suggestion. Thank you.